Red Death was going to be an interesting one, due to only 4 sentences of official canon. If you check out the drawing board, there's a lot more information, telling the story of the bandits in the wasteland modding an old pulse rifle. It could definitely be argued that my story conflicts with that, and therefore, I do apologize. But my goal is to portray the lore in a storytelling fashion, which Red Death had almost none. There were no links between the bandit story and the overall lore of Destiny, other than they were a few criminals out in the wild. In my opinion, that is not a great story to tell. However, I instead used the one link I had. Red Death was fashioned by a Mad Guardian. The one Mad Guardian we knew was Toland, the Shattered. I like to imagine that Toland took notes on his making of Red Death, and those notes are found by us in the pursuit of the Toland's Legacy exotic bounty, which leads to Bad Juju. Makes sense with both being pulse rifles, doesn't it? Besides, Toland could technically be a bandit. Now here is a disclaimer. This story was speculation based on the above references and acknowledgements, which will be down in the description below, and is not subject to being entirely factual. This post should not be referenced as actual evidence, but rather as speculation on the subject. And without further ado, let's get started with Weapon Lore Red Death. There's something to be said about the feel of Red Death. Each bullet rips down the barrel, each burst letting free the chaos of the weapon. This unique feel complements the unique sound of the gun. The bursts are meant to intimidate all foes who hear it, posing absolute wrath. If it's not the sound of the gun that strikes fear, then the look will finish the job. Every part of this gun represents the madness from which it was forged. A foreboding display of a bayonet, spikes, and a paint job of blood, it is obvious what this weapon has done. Murder. Unlike other weapons, this one's story is shrouded in darkness. For us Guardians, we see a tangible force, represented as fear itself, the darkness. Most Guardians blindly crusade against such evil, willing to persist with such pious ambitions, using divine light as their sword and the Traveler as their shield. They fight in ancient battles of good versus evil, without one understanding the other. For a select few Guardians, however, they try to understand the darkness. From our perspective, they tried and failed, ending in madness. But given their own perspective, some believe they see the truth. Any reputable Guardian has heard of Toland the Shattered. He was once a regarded warlock, studying the forces of the universe. While the Order grasped the intricacies of the marvelous light, Toland held interest in the mysterious. In a quest to know the truth, Toland developed theories on the darkness. In his journals, he claims to have an epiphany. The darkness is not just a complementary force to the light. It is rather an evolutionary endpoint of the entire universe, and the light is fighting a losing battle. Just as atoms came into being, they did so by defeating whatever was before. Now we have two combating cosmic energies, and one must win. Toland reported these findings to the Vanguard. Confused at first, the Vanguard questioned Toland's loyalty to the light. Insulted, Toland aggressively retorted that loyalty means nothing in light of the truth. He tried to explain again, with frustration, that the power of the darkness is like the primordial strength of armies, and sometimes a tower cannot stand against a massive army. Instead, we should embrace it, use it for our desperate selves, forge weapons with it, for the only way to fight an army is with another army, not hide in a tower. The warlock was banished and marked as mad. Stubbornly set on his quest for truth, he continued to study the darkness and how he could wield its power. Speculating the hive is closest in tune with the darkness, he became obsessed with their rituals. he witnessed the eating of light, the suffering to summon power, and the fear of their gods. Attempting to mimic these rituals, he decorated an old pulse rifle with the markings of anguish, a dark knife, spikes piercing his skin, the coating of his own blood. He prayed to the gods of darkness, wishing this weapon to eat his foes. But the weapon did not yet hold the true power of the darkness. He remembered Crota, and how he wielded a sword that literally ate Guardian's light. He theorized that the leeching of light gave the sword more power, and he must do the same for this abomination of a pulse rifle. Staking out in the wastelands of Earth, Toland hunted Guardians with the weapon. With each kill, he felt the weapon grow stronger, recharging his shields and healing his body. Eventually, he recognized the dark power that was granted to the weapon, but everything about the gun felt wrong. His old heritage of light urged him to destroy this weapon before it claimed more lives, but he feared what the darkness would do to him if he even attempted to dismantle it. Concluding that he could no longer live with the rifle, he discarded it along with his notes. Tampering with dark powers has its curses. While Red Death holds much power, it is a dark power fed with souls. The Vanguard urges us to destroy the weapon. But would that be enough to avenge these souls?